Hi, everybody. Today we're joined on our Staying Connected series with Doug Adlam from Champion Mortgage. Hi, Doug.
Hi, John. Thanks for having
Uh,
me.
no problem. Doug is the broker of record with Champion Mortgage. So Champion Mortgage obviously has a physical brick and mortar office in Guelph. I think you have other locations as well. Is that right?
Or actually, we've moved everything to one main head office here in the city of Guelph.
Okay, so brick and mortar, but also in the industry, a lot of the stuff is online and through the phones. So if you could walk us through how COVID-19 has caused you to change and adapt, and also the mortgage industry in general, any changes that have taken place there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of changes in the industry. I guess I'll start off with what we've done. Our team is working remotely. Everybody working from home to obviously to make sure that we're physically distanced from each other and minimize the impact on ourselves and our clients. So over the last few years, there's been a big shift away from requiring in-person meetings in our industry, as there's been a lot of innovation on the technology side
Okay.
to allow us to truly communicate with clients more digitally than in person. But that being said, we've completely moved to a digital process and to a digital means. So we have. I just want to make sure I still got you there, John. You've frozen on my end.
Yeah, I can hear you still.
Okay, perfect. So essentially, yeah, we've moved to a completely virtual digital process, and just enhanced our virtual communication, everything from signing documents virtually to virtual meetings to phone meetings. And the biggest win as an industry just in the last week was the ability for a number of legal firms to be able to sign paperwork virtually, which was a big challenge a couple of weeks ago in terms of, well, if I can't meet with my customer, or I had customers that were under quarantine that couldn't go sign paperwork, how do we keep the real estate market going, and how do we complete the sale or refinance or renewal for that matter?
Right.
So there has been a lot of evolution on that side.
Do you see that change in being able to sign digitally something that's going to be lasting after this?
Yeah, like in our industry, a lot of the lenders had moved to accept digital signatures
Okay.
through the broker paperwork or the banker paperwork. But the last piece of the puzzle was to sign with the lawyer, which was always an in-person meeting with either the lawyer or a notary in their while they're virtually in their witness. However, over this everything that's been happening on a global scale, and clearly here on a national and local scale, they've really shifted to adapt to protect consumers and protect professionals, to allow the process to move through in a virtual means. And yeah, I think it's going to be a big change. I think we're going to see a lot more a lot bigger shift into that direction, just because due to the simplicity, due to the fact that we can do it. And I'd be very surprised if the Law Society reverted the rules after we get through this.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're hearing a lot about is changes that have probably been needing to have been made for years now are kind of being pushed forward now. And I mean, hopefully they stick around because they make everything a lot easier.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the mortgage payment deferrals that we're hearing a lot about in the news. I think a couple of weeks ago they came out with that. From my understanding, that's not something that's been legislated. It was just banks offering it originally through the media. Can you walk us through what that's all about and kind of who would qualify for something like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the first thing I would say is if you're looking for information about the deferral program, that's one thing. Please don't call your bank if you're just looking for your bank or your lender. If you're just looking for information, they're absolutely bombarded right now. Just heard yesterday somebody was on hold for 9 hours
Wow.
to get to reach their bank, and on their average response time right now is 3 to 5 business days, just due to the extreme increase in inquiries. So
Okay.
there's a lot of information out there. Actually, we've on our website, champion.ca, we now have a COVID-19 section that walks through what the payment relief looks like, and who qualifies for it. But the big thing is it is there if you need it, and there are a lot of people that need it. A lot of families where they've had family members were working and they've both been laid off, for example. The whole idea of, if you need it, it's there for you. But if you don't need it, then please don't tie up the phone calls on that side. But just to give you an example of the questions the lenders are asking, really the lenders are seeking to determine whether you've been directly impacted, so you've been laid off because you work in an industry that's been affected by COVID-19, or whether you've been in an industry that's been indirectly impacted, which is a number of businesses as well. But they're really looking at, are there other factors? Would there also be other factors that may impact your ability to make your mortgage payment? So they're really looking at your ability to pay. Now, what's interesting is they've also made it available to landlords, to property owners where their tenants have been laid off. And there's an additional series of questions in those scenarios. But the payment relief really is focused on keeping Canadians in their homes, whether they're a landlord or their primary residence. But it's also there for those who really need it. Just to give you an example, one of the lenders we got a notification from informed us that the vast majority of their calls are inquiries about the program if they lose their job, which is holding up their ability to help those that actually need it.
Right.
That need it now. So the recommendation is, you can learn about it. We've got tons of resources at champion.ca, including a link to every single lender in the Canadian marketplace, most of them anyhow, that have information on their host website about the different processes and steps to determine if you do qualify. And just to be clear, when you're calling because you need payment relief, not because you're interested in what it might be.
Right.
With that being said, one of the tips that I would have for those that are interested in and need that relief, be prepared with a series of information. So for example, when you call, just make sure, obviously, you know your name, your mortgage number, the name that the mortgage is registered in, the mortgage number, which you can pull off of any mortgage statement, or if you have an online portal for your lender, you can find it there. Obviously, the property address of the mortgage, and be prepared with how you've been impacted by COVID-19. To be able to explain your story and where you work and when you were laid off, have that data and information available so that they can do the appropriate assessment and provide you with up to 6 months deferred payments.
So with that being said, you mentioned having your story of how you've been affected. Are there cases where somebody wouldn't be approved for the deferral?
Yeah, it's happening very frequently, and the truth is, one of the reality is the deferred payment is for those who really need it. So, for example, and this is my personal opinion, if you have money in your savings account, then you can make your mortgage payments. There are families that cannot make the next mortgage payment, that were living month to month on their paycheck and now are unemployed. That's really the people that need this the best. Also heard a lot of property owners, again, going back to the investors that are, unfortunately looking, in some cases, it feels like they're just looking a way to kind of game the system to get a little breather on payments. But I do want to explain what a deferred payment is. It's not that your next 6 months payments are completely forgiven,
right?
Which is a deferred payment is exactly that. Yes, for the next 6 months, you may not have to make your mortgage payments. They will be delayed, but your payments will kick back in 6 months from now. And any interest that is accrued, there's no interest relief. It's payment relief. So the interest continues to accrue on your mortgage. And then when your mortgage kicks back in 6 months from now, your payment may be, anywhere between $400 and $100 more per month, because you've accrued that much more interest and haven't made payments for 6 months. So it is very,
instead of is the payment, you mentioned the payment will change at that point. So it's not being tacked on to the end of the mortgage. It's just going to catch you up, essentially.
Now, this is where the misinformation is happening. Is it appears that some lenders are doing it differently, but it sounds like the majority are adjusting the payment at the end of the 6 months to be in line with the client's current amortization. Some are pushing it out. Some are pushing out the the term, but my understanding is the way it's supposed to function is that the interest is deferred, and to keep everyone on the same amortization, the same term on their current mortgage, so that when their term does come to renew, that they're still on time.
Okay, it's good. That's great. I mean, I know there's a lot of misinformation about this out there, so it's good to have that clarified. And that's a really good point you make about if you don't need this, don't call, because there's people who do need it who can't get through, right? So I think that's critical.
Yeah. So the last thing that I would say too is if you are interested, if you need it, go through your lender's portal, log into your online mortgage portal, online banking, and there'll be information there, and they'll provide the best method to apply. I know a number of lenders have now put on online application forms, like essentially a deferred payment application form, or to email a specific email address. I did just get confirmation from one of Canada's largest lenders that they're able to turn around requests by email in 2 to 3 days rather than 5 to 8 days for phone calls.
Okay.
So if you can email, this is the information again: name, mortgage number, property address, how you've been impacted by COVID-19, and be very specific that you're requesting payment relief and deferred mortgage payments. They'll be able to address your inquiry as quick as possible. Now, what I have heard is at the bare minimum, clients are being offered, in most cases, the bare minimum, they're being offered to skip a payment, which essentially gives them 1 month's relief,
Right.
in the case they don't qualify for the deferred payment. But again, those that need it are qualifying for it in most cases from what we're seeing. But of course, more information will come out on that in the days ahead. But I know that the lenders are being quite liberal in the sense of providing as many people as possible the relief that they need.
Okay, great. That's excellent information. If anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, for sure. Champion.ca. We're available via phone, email, virtual meetings, you name it. We are actually going to start running a series of open webinars, essentially group meetings, where we can have customers or the public, for that matter, come in and ask questions, kind of like a roundtable.
Yeah.
So we're just in the process of setting those up to start next week, to really give our clients as well as the public the opportunity to ask questions to us. And it's just to make sure that people are getting the right information and are well prepared for the future, and know what options they have at their disposal regarding the deferred payments and others. Now, one last thing I will mention, just to come back to it, it's really, really, really important, and this is what I'm stressing: if you need it, ask for it. If you don't need it, you're just asking for information, please don't contact your lender. You have to contact your lender and actually reach your lender before your payment is due in order to apply for relief. So if you do miss a payment without being approved,
Yeah.
then it will show up on your credit report as a missed payment, which a missed mortgage payment is not something that you want on your credit report.
Yeah.
So it's really, really critical to reach out to your lender. Most of our lenders are saying, please contact us around the 10-day mark before your next payment. And then that gives them enough time to do the process. If it's, if you're 30 days ahead or 20 days ahead, they're not going to look at those emails or they're going to deprioritize those emails and look at those that are within 10 days of their mortgage payment date. So just to keep that in mind.
Perfect. That's great information. Thank you for joining us today. I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from this. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much, John. Have a great day.